Hi guys, Robin here from Cheese from Scratch, and so today I am going to show you how to shred mozzarella cheese to go in the freezer, which seems like a super simple thing, but I know a lot of people struggle with actually being able to shred it and get it to the freezer without it breaking up into kind of chunks like this. So I just wanted to give you some of my tips that I use to get it into the freezer. So for starters, just recently I've started making or salting my mozzarella a little differently than even my mozzarella tutorial that's on IGTV as well. Instead of actually adding the salt into my whey while I am stretching, I have been leaving the salt out. So I've been leaving it out, I've been stretching, and then once I am done stretching, I've been putting it into a hold form. So if you don't have one of these at home, you can easily make one using any type of container. Just poke some holes in it. If you are poking holes in it, always remember to poke from the inside out so that those little jagged bits are on the outside of your form. So I put it into my form once I've stretched it, and I'm letting it drain off in the sink for maybe about an hour. And so while it's draining, in a bit, buddy. While it's draining, I'm putting some salt, some fine ground salt on the top of it, just to facilitate some draining. I'm coming back 10 minutes after, flipping it and putting some salt on the bottom of it, and that's just helping it drain a little bit quicker. And then after I do that, after about an hour of it draining from this, I'm putting it in my 18% salt brine in the fridge, and I'm leaving it there for about 8 hours. And so this 8 hours in the salt brine is giving it a really nice salty taste. So if you've made mozzarella before, you might have struggled with after you've made it and it's sat for a few days, it's not really that salty anymore. This 18% saturated brine is actually taking care of that and making sure it does stay a little bit saltier. And I also suspect it's making it last a little bit longer. I don't often keep mozzarella in the fridge much more than maybe 2 days or so. But just because it doesn't last that long. But I have some assumption, I haven't tried it, but I have some assuming that it would last a little bit longer because it's getting such a good salting. So once you've had that 8 hours in the brine, I'm pulling it out of the brine and I'm putting it in a container and leaving it in the fridge. So with this mozzarella, you want to make sure that you're not leaving it out at room temperature. So that hour in the sink is about max that I would do. I wouldn't let it out too much longer because it doesn't have any bacterial culture in it. You've killed off most of the kind of the raw milk bacteria in there. It's from an acid made cheese, so we actually added citric acid to acidify it versus adding a bacterial culture. So for those reasons, I wouldn't ever leave it on the counter very long before I put it in the fridge. So anyways, I pull it out of the 18% brine, and I am putting it in a container and I'm leaving it in the fridge for a day before I pull it out to shred it for putting in the freezer or making pizza, those types of things. So I usually always shred with my food processor, which I've struggled with in the past because mozzarella is such a soft cheese. It doesn't do well in the food processor. It's really hard on it, and I've always worried about kind of wrecking my motor or anything like that. So this is kind of why I've started doing that draining process and also that salting process. So you can totally hand grade your mozzarella, and this is going to make it so much easier if you've done that salting and you've done that kind of draining in the sink for that hour. Because see, like before, I would have been just having so many big chunks and stuff coming off of there. So it does look really nice that way. So those are just a few tips that you can use to be able to grade your mozzarella cheese a little bit simpler. And I know it sounds like it's something that shouldn't be that hard, but it is something that I've struggled with, and I've heard from a lot of my followers that they have struggled with it too and have been looking for some hacks. So this is kind of a recent thing that I've started kind of experimenting with and trying to find something that just makes it easier to shred your cheese.